This is the Page Publishing Book Club. I'm your host, Alice Stockton Rossini. And you know what, Rob? We are just days away from Valentine's Day. I love you, man. Don't you wish it were that simple? You know, just say I love you and boing, flowers bloom, birds sing, you live happily ever after.
Love stinks. Love stinks.
Right. So, what a perfect time to feature books about relationships. We have two friends who wrote two companion books on how to find the real deal and keep it. And we have a husband and wife team of psychotherapists to take us deeper into the complexities of love and relationships and how to navigate even the worst possible time. So we're going to start with Kathy Martin, who wrote Bimbo Has Brains and Other Freaky Facts, and John Garish, who wrote The Golf Pro Has Heart, teeing up unique happy relationship secrets with fun golf stories. So how did you two get together?
We're good friends. John golfs with my husband. So we were actually chatting one night, and it was for the Bimbo Has Brains. And he had some really great ideas and was going to be a part of that. But he had so many great ideas. It's called, hey, you've got your own book here. So that's how it happened.
How are they companion books?
They're about relationships. We're targeting folks who've been in love. It's kind of a wide audience.
Have been or are in love and, existing relationships that may be having some difficulties, or how to find your life mate so that it can be successful.
Give me some tips.
Well, some of our tips are basically about things regarding how we look at each other, how we communicate. Are we fair? Are we being sensitive? I think a lot of it just has to do with perspective. And so we looked at our own life journeys and said, we've learned a lot. We need to share these things because some of it seems like it's the secrets that are hiding out there in right out in open view, but it hasn't been spelled out. So we've tried to do it with a lot of laughter and a lot of compassion. And it's just been a lot of fun as people start reading the book. We hear great response back. So we're so excited.
I kind of studied people that had long-term happy relationships, trying to find why their relationships were more successful than those that failed. So I really got into trying to analyze what was different about those relationships. And the journey really became amazing. And I try to share that. I actually broke it down into a formula of just under 20 items that are typically found in these relationships. So if people can key into those things, they're much more likely to find a mate that they can have these, what I call happy, loving, long-term relationships.
Is there one particular thing we can focus on? One screw up that everybody does?
There's 18 items in this formula, but if I'm going to pick one of those, in my opinion, there are three kinds of people in this world. There are givers, there are takers, and there are takers who think they're givers. And typically you put two takers together, they're never going to make it. Usually a giver and a taker won't make it either. But if you can put two givers together, you've got an excellent chance. And every one of these long-term relationships that I found that were happy, and I'm talking, 50-year relationships that people are still in love. One of the keys was they were both giver personalities.
So we try to touch on the things that might be squirrely and the things that might be really going well to help people understand what they can do better and how to survive and thrive if things aren't going all that well. But we also try to do it with a great deal of tongue-in-cheek, a lot of humor, even though sometimes it's a little bit of pathos rather than normal humor. But we have to be able to laugh. So we try to keep a positive attitude as the emphasis in helping people learn how to douse the anger flame and not be fighting, learn how to communicate and talk and work things out, avoid the stress pools of life, that sort of thing.
Okay, now everybody on the planet has written a book about relationships. What sets you guys apart?
Well, I think from my perspective, I have a business background as well as I play professional golf. And in both of those situations, my success was because I went to and had people mentor me that had done it successfully. I think if you concentrate on people who know how to do things right, you're going to be more successful. So I focused on the couples that had really done it right. I think a lot of people out there that write some of these books, they've got their thought process on how things should work. The key for me was who's really made it work and why. What did they have that set them apart from all the rest of us that have tried things and failed? So I looked for the people that really knew, really proved the process.
He tells a lot of funny golf stories, in fact, throughout his book that make it kind of lively and light and lets people see that really human side of him. And I play in with a lot of silly things, like I've got a twisted list of why you might be a control freak, which is kind of a parody of a Jeff Foxworthy skit. We talk about how to celebrate the bimbo in each of us, why sexy beats sexual, how to score the intimacy high five, or silly things that people can go, yeah, I can do that. Trying to make people relate to what they really do and feel good about the stuff we're doing right and how we put all those pieces together so they fit.
Nice. All right, Kathy, John, let's get some more help putting the pieces of love together and making them fit with Dr. Lynn and Dr. Philip Levy, psychotherapists here in New York City, who wrote The Resilient Couple, Navigating Together Through Life. Now, some of this is about your marriage, right?
Our personal life experience was the impetus for writing the book. And as we sat down to write together, it became very evident that the real skill for all couples was in learning resilience and what it took to regain their footing after challenging situations.
Resilience is based upon trust, communication. It's based upon respect and empathy. We talk about something we call RED, R-E-D, because we feel there are red flags in all relationships, and we feel that a good approach is respect, empathy, and dialogue. And when couples engage in respect, empathy, and dialogue, as well as forgiveness, as well as making the we more important than the I, they're much more likely to be able to be resilient and overcome the challenges of any relationship.
Do you find that couples aren't willing to hang in there and they just give up too soon?
Oh, that is, it's an unfortunate fact that there are many couples that we have seen as therapists and that we know about from the research that we did for a book that could possibly have recovered from whatever challenge they were meeting, but they didn't either have the skills or they didn't have somebody to guide them through it. Once there's real acrimony in a relationship, real bitterness, and an inability to really dialogue and to feel the other person's pain, then there's much less likelihood of reconnecting in a meaningful way.
People do often give up too easily because they have unrealistic expectations. They think that marriage is just about, I love you, or I have this passion at the beginning. But it's much more than that. It is a commitment. It's a commitment to one another, and it's a commitment to your family. And I think that what happens is people all too often point to the other and blame rather than looking within and developing self-awareness. And what we try to do through this book is to give people the skills so that they'll be able to overcome some of these challenges.
Would this be a good book for a wedding present?
Yes.
Yes.
It'd be excellent for people when an engagement present.
In my previous role professionally, I created a premarital education program for couples. And I am a great believer that instead of getting on the wedding train, maybe couples could spend a little time really exploring what this marriage is going to look like and what they're going to take away with them from their families of origin and what they're going to leave behind and form some kind of a dialogue between them before they actually say their vows.
And I think what's unique about this book is not only does it tell the story, not only is it entertaining, but it also gives very practical skills that people can utilize.
We have exercises for couples to do.
Do you talk about your tsunami?
We do,
Yes.
personally.
We talk about how we met, which is the story of us. We talk about our tsunami and what it was about and how it impacted us as individuals, as a couple, and as a family, and how we were able to overcome it by
And the struggle at times in overcoming it.
Our tsunami was that after 41 years of building the largest not-for-profit in the country serving people with developmental disabilities, I was notified on the last day of my contract at 6 p.m. that despite the board approving my new contract, the chairman of the board was not going forward with it. This was not just a job. This was 41 years, starting at age 18, of building an organization. And it was such a part of not only my life, but our family's life, our friends' lives. And it was
from
taken
30
away.
employees to 5,600.
Well, we got through
here's
it,
the
and
good
we
news.
reinvented ourselves.
We're
together.
here to tell the story.
Yep.
And to say that not that it was easy, but we spent a year, maybe 2 years, trying to figure out what a new life would look like.
Well, you succeeded in a big way. Welcome to your new life. Thank you, Dr. Levy and Dr. Levy, a resilient couple for sure. We're going to head over to Stone Tavern now, the only place to be when the gods want to watch their version of the Olympic Games. This from the mind of one Aggie Butler. Aggie.
It was just a thought that I had. So I took that thought and I said, I've really been wanting to write a book for some time. It's one of those things that was like on my bucket list. I started a book back in 1985, nothing like what I wrote in this book, but I never did get to finish it. My kids and work and things just got in the way, but it was one of those things that I wanted to do, and it was just an idea that I had, and I started building on that idea, and I spent that first year just building on the idea, and the next thing I knew, I had probably, 20 or 30 pages of notes stored in a file on the computer. And I said, you've been at this for a year now. It's really time for you to do something about it or leave it alone. Next thing I knew, it was like 3 years later, pull everything together to get my book written. So it was fun. It was challenging. And sometimes I'd even sit there and pat myself on the back and say, girl, where did you come up with that idea? But I love it. Love it. Max, one of my main characters, is trying to make it to the next level of play, which is the Galaxy Extravaganza. These are Olympic Games that are played by us humans that the gods love to watch. Max has to make sure that he gets in there and he gets his people all lined up. And, of course, there's always a stone or something that they have to pick up. But in my case, it is a stone that they have to retrieve. And they have to do it in a timely fashion. Max has to make sure that the salvages do not get hurt too badly, and then return them back to their stasis where they began. And so consequently what happens is the players have to stay within a certain zone or area here on Earth. And if they go below that, of course, it's called going below the no-fly zone or below the deck. And if that happens, and of course it's going to happen, then there is a cause and effect here on Earth somewhere. It is the gods that are actually in Stone Tavern, which is where they watch all the events. It's actually the gods doing things there inside the bar that cause and effect that the player actually does, which causes effects, train wrecks, tsunamis, avalanches.
So they create all these obstacles for the players.
Yes. Like I say, it was just a harebrained idea that I had that I kept building off of it and said, well, what about this, and what about this, and what about this? And do you really want to do that in this book? And isn't that, aren't you going a little off sideways? And I said, well, who cares? It's your book. Your book can go in any direction that you want it to go. You can go backwards, you can go forward, you can go sideways in time, and it's not going to really matter because you're the one that's writing it. If there's enough people out there that can sit down and read my book and say, wow, what an interesting concept, and laugh through it and cry through it and be mad and be angry and all those things, those emotions that we feel when we read, then I will have done what I set out to do, which was give them something there for them to enjoy and to slip away from everyday life.
Do you have any advice for aspiring writers?
If you've got an idea, it doesn't matter how far off it is, start there and just build off of that and continue to build off of it and get to writing that book. Don't think that you can't do it. Don't think that you're your writing is not good enough, because it is. If I sell 10 copies and that's all I ever sell, and if those 10 people enjoyed it as much as I did writing it, then I've accomplished what I wanted to accomplish.
All right, Aggie. Great advice. Now, this is a woman who loves to write, and we have more lovers of the written word coming up right after this very short break. Don't go anywhere. This is the Page Publishing Book Club.
Attention all authors. Page Publishing is looking for authors. Have you written a book and want to get it published? Page Publishing will get your book into bookstores and for sale online at Amazon, Apple iTunes, and other outlets. They handle all aspects of the publishing process for you: printing, cover art, publicity, copyright, and editing. Call 800-204-6099 now for your free author submission kit. That's 800-204-6099 for your free author submission kit.
Welcome back to the Page Publishing Book Club, Valentine's Day edition. I'm Alice Stockton Rossini. Rob Barrett's, love you, man. We are all in this box together. That is the name of Connie Foreman's book, and it teaches children and adults some very important lessons. Connie.
Well, my book is about the uniqueness of children, how they see that there's so much that we have in common and the little things that we have in common, and also the differences we have in common. You know how children tend to notice that one of their friends may not be from this country, or one of them is tall, or one of them is short, things of that nature. But they also notice that we have a lot in common and that we can be the best of friends.
Hear, hear, Connie. You worked with kids, right?
Well, I actually worked for Early Intervention, and it's one of the greatest programs in the world. We worked with children from birth to age 3. And these are children who had developmental delays. Some of them also delays were not just developmental. Some of the delays were physical as well. And I've always wanted to put together a children's writing group and a reading group. And this book in itself is actually one of, I would say, a first reader for children between the ages of 3 and 6. Some of the programs that I've worked with, some of the teachers or the special educators actually are using the book itself. And I know a couple of other people who are elementary school teachers who are actually using it too.
So you wrote this book as a tool for teachers to use.
Yeah, teachers and parents.
And this book was also therapy for you, right? I mean, you're battling cancer?
Yeah, at this point I'm fighting hard, fighting very hard, not giving in, not giving up. And this book in itself has, I've got several other ones that I'm in the process of working with to get those published that go along with this book. And it keeps me in tune with a job that it wasn't a job for me. It was something that I enjoyed doing.
I know so few people get to say that.
It was a career, but it was something that I really enjoyed doing. And Early Intervention started at first with Mario Cuomo's wife, Matilda. So I had the benefit of meeting her when it first started. So yeah, after getting past all of being depressed about everything, I looked at where I was. As I said, I had a beautiful job, and I took the positive of this, and hopefully I'm leaving something, should this happen, behind that meant a lot to me, and that other people could see it meant a lot to me too.
And that actually helps others, helps kids.
Yeah. And also to see some of the children that I work with in the program who were autistic, to see them make strides. That was important.
I bet it was, Connie. Hang in there. Connie is battling breast cancer, and writing's really helped her cope. So, Connie, we wish you all the best. Todd Wiegand is hoping you will see your life challenges through his book of poetry. It's called Observational Reflections, and it's 63 colorful pages of observations. And Todd, you're an award-winning poet, aren't you?
I have won awards. I won an award back in 2008 with the International Society of Poets for the poem "The Special Man." I've also won awards from the Veterans Administration Regional Talent Show in 2011 for the poems "Not Free Freedom" and "Duality," and those were first place finishes, and a second place finish for the poem "The Line." So it has taken some awards. I'm very excited about that. That's been really good feedback for me to get the idea out that people are enjoying the book.
That's
Exactly.
great.
I am not a writer. I'm a disabled veteran, and I've got a lot of life experiences. Those life experiences culminated with a very dark time in my life. You know, failed health in my case. Failed health actually hatched this concept of writing, this idea of being able to tap into this extreme creativity and have that come out on paper. I have to be inspired. I can't just sit in a corner and write a book. I have to be inspired by something and moved to write about it.
You are such a good example of coming through difficult times and coming out the other side and finding purpose and finding meaning and finding a way to communicate it.
Well, thank you. That's really what my message is to any reader. There are many people that struggle with, they have their own demons, whether it's an addiction or whether it's depression, a medical problem. For some reason, they're at an ultimate low in their life. They can see hope. They can see hope through the book. By reading the book, they could get that hope.
Can you give me a taste? Can you give me a couple of lines of something?
Let me see. I like this one because I think it captures kind of where I feel we as a nation could be right now.
Okay.
And it's the poem entitled Hugs. A hug can comfort when someone cries, very consoling when someone dies. Hugs can convey thoughts of affection. They can always be given from any direction. When not given enough, the outcome is bad. A child can die without a hug. Conveyed with love, the feeling beyond glad. Shared in intimacy, it's euphoric beyond a drug. Something for a thought about a hug. One hug can affect another, and two can affect four. Four can affect 16, and 16 even more. And this could change the world. Fewer drugs, fewer thugs, more hugs, sharing love, for God is love. And that's my poem, The Hug.
Nice, Todd. Thanks for the reading. Finally, Michael Anderson wrote, Wounded by Religion, Healed by Faith, A Gay Man's Dance with God. Now, what this title doesn't tell you is that, Michael, you played a role in Northwest Airlines becoming the first airline to join the Gay and Lesbian Travel Association in 1994.
Yes, correct. It's also because of being inspired by God. People are telling me I should write a book about the work I did when I came out at Northwest Airlines. At a time I could still be fired for being gay. But I had a year's sobriety in, and the hostile work environment left me with only three choices. I could quit and find a gay-friendlier job, or I could go back to drinking, or I could challenge Northwest and see where they stood on this. And like I say, that was a hostile time for gay people in the workplace.
Yeah, we're talking about 1994.
92, actually, at this point when I confronted Northwest.
So what happened?
They asked me to join the court-ordered cultural diversity panel and represent all the gay employees on this panel. And Northwest was under a consent decree for its hiring practices of African Americans. And that panel was to report back to a judge within 5 years. And, all I wanted Northwest to do was to tell the people to knock it off. You can't do that here. But Northwest wanted to take this further. So, yes, I got Northwest to become a gay-friendlier company, and they joined the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association and paved way for other airlines to join.
Michael, that's amazing.
Well, thank you. At the time, it was just something that needed to be done. American Airlines tried to beat our check to the bank so that they could take credit. as being the first, but no, we were the first, and yeah, it was a good experience for me and for Northwest. I hope they can say that as well now, but Northwest is now Delta Airlines, and Delta has a good program for its gay employees as well as being recognized.
Are you still working?
No, the car wreck I was in a coma for 3 weeks, and it took almost a year to get back to work. And I did go back for 5 years, and then with the mechanics strike and Northwest desire to break the union, that just led to further complications, and I did cross the picket line and went back to work because I needed the insurance for medical expenses.
Right.
But then the stress and everything, after 2 years, I was down to 4 hours a day and then went out on long-term disability.
Is that what the book's about?
Well, it's more about my relationship with God and the strength I needed to take on Northwest, because most people that take on Northwest didn't win.
What made you different?
Because of my relationship with God, I felt empowered, and that's what I want people to understand, is that we all have a relationship with God if we're willing to allow ourselves to have that relationship.
I hear you, Michael, and you know what? There are a lot of people indebted to you for having found the strength to take on a major airline and make history. And for me and Rob, the engineer, it's time to make our way out of here. Thank you so much for stopping by for the Valentine's Day edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. And if you love this show, feel free to download it anytime you want at 710WOR.iHeart.com. Otherwise, we'll be back next week, same time, same place, for another edition of the Page Publishing Book Club. 710 WOR. Have a great weekend.